and you're live.
Welcome to Mind of a Man. I'm your host, Elder James Jones, my co-host Tobie here, and we have a wonderful, exciting, and I mean truly exciting guest. We're going to be introducing her soon, or we're going to allow her to introduce herself. But a follow-up from our last session was about relationships and who was going to be a leader in those relationships. And I always find it very interesting about our last subject. And my dear co-host Tobie there kind of made me laugh about these different leaderships that takes place in relationships. And very interesting that who would take relationships. And our host had said she didn't mind if a man took the lead. But basically, as long as he knows what he was doing and what he was talking about, she didn't mind following. But I will say this in about leadership in relationships. We had a saying about military. We know when we see it, and we know how you conduct yourself as that leader if we're going to follow or not. But with no further ado, we have an interesting topic today. We're very excited. My co-host said he's ready to dive in head first, not feet first. And today's subject is leadership in finance. And it's very interesting because in today's society in the 21st century, well, let me take it back even further. Growing up in my time, a lot of people, unless they took economics, really didn't get into finances like that. I will tell you that my time in finances had to do with high school. And when I found out that I had accounting, and my teacher made me go back and visit those 3 or 4 sheets to find that penny, I think I was out the door then. I was out the door. Let me tell you, I was out the door. I was like, look, I'm frustrated. I'm hot. I got other classes I got to study. I thought it was just going to be some debits and some credits, and I was going to be good to go. That teacher looked at those worksheets and looked at those ledgers. Man, look at here. I was out the door. She was like, look, I started seeing red marks coming, and I looked at it, and she was like, Marcus, you're gonna have to redo your paperwork and send it back. And I was like, really? She says, yes, all your work looked good, but you were like a penny off, and you got to find that penny. I was like, I got to go through all 3 of these ledgers in the books to go back and find out where I lost the penny at. And so then I ended up really saying to myself, I might need to take a second look at that particular situation with dealing with accounting. that was taxing for a brother. I was like, look, I wasn't trying to use all my brain cells in one class. I got to spread it around. But that was my real true experience with dealing with finances, because my parents never taught me about finances, and I wanted to know. And besides that, I only had like 5-6 people in that class. And I thought, ooh, okay, good. I don't have to worry about a whole lot of competition. I can go in there and thought I can glide. But you know what? I got to move on. That was my little tidbit about finances that I thought y'all will find funny, but it is very true when you're dealing with money and you're dealing with debits and excess. And they're not playing with that penny, man. I was like, I'll give you a penny. They was like, that's not the point. So I want my our host who's coming to the show, and no one can introduce you better than you can introduce yourself, because who knows you better than yourself besides God. So without further ado, please introduce yourself, ma'am.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. This sounds like it's going to be a really fun conversation. My name is Tarra Jackson, aka Madam Money. I am a personal finance influencer, expert, financial commentator for Al Jazeera, Fox News, Black Enterprise. A lot of people like to hear me talk about money, probably because I wrote a couple books. My freshman book was Financial Fornication. I figured if sex can sell a cheeseburger, it can sell financial literacy. So I talk about how I was financially promiscuous with multiple credit cards. Don't judge me. And then I ended up with financial STDs, substantially tremendous debt. And then babies needed cures. So I figured, I'd try to find an exit strategy to get out of these financially abusive relationships and stop getting my assets kicked. I did say asset. And learn how to date financial institutions. So I teach people how to date their bank. So I figured if we can giggle and we can laugh, we can learn. And so that breaks the ice about learning about credit and learning about finances. My second book is The 4 Financial Languages. This is where I delve into relationships and communicating about money. And I found that there are 4 dominant financial languages: saving, spending, investing, and giving. And the reason why savers and spenders argue is because they're speaking different languages. So I teach people in that book how to be fiscally bilingual. And my last book, or my most recent book, is the Dualpreneur Bible. Dualpreneur are people that have side businesses. So it's the 10 commandments to starting a successful side business. So I'm really passionate about people starting businesses, especially people that look like us, starting businesses and leveraging their job or their employment benefits to start or sustain their business or grow. So yeah, other than that, I own a lot of people don't know this, but I own a digital company that builds websites for small business owners. I do business coaching. And I also I'm an executive producer for virtual events for companies that want to turn their live events into hybrid or virtual events. So I do a lot of stuff. Most people don't know the digital side of me. That's my passion. That's behind the scenes, but most people know me up in front. Other than that, I am a Black woman that is so excited about being a Black woman right now because everybody's trying to be a Black woman right now. And I am a mother of 1 son and a wife of no husband yet. How about that?
Within these first couple of seconds that you said this, I have learned 2 or 3 things already. I said, God, I gotta remember that. Woo! That's awesome.
I'm just that chick people like to talk about money too. So I'm like, I'm all for it. Let's do it. Oh, I do need to mention, because it doesn't come up a lot, but my credentials is I am the former interim president and CEO of a credit union in Atlanta, Georgia. So I have ran a financial institution. I kind of know a little bit about what I'm talking about, a lot. And I've matriculated in the financial services industry. So I've been everything: teller, loan officer, VP of lending, collections manager, operations, VP, executive president, and a CEO of a financial institution. So I just realized that financial institutions, we're playing the game of chess, but consumers are playing checkers. And so I decided that I wanted to teach consumers the art of the financial services game so they have a fighting chance to win. Whether they choose to play or not, that's their choice. But as long as they understand the rules, because banks aren't cheating, they're just playing by a different set of rules that we're accustomed to. So that's where my passion is. When I left the financial services industry, I repented, turned from my wicked ways, and became a consumer advocate. And that's where the Madam Money came in.
Go ahead, General. I'm still trying to.
He's trying to consume the information. Okay, outstanding. What? Anything else you would like to say?
I got a lot to say, but anything. Yeah, going back, James, to what you were talking about with your first experience with finances. A lot of people get intimidated about managing their finances because they do think that you have to be an accountant to do that. And I was going to major in accounting, and like you, once I couldn't find that penny, I was like, yeah, I'm tapping out. I'm out. I mean, I got to accounting too, and I was like, no, this is not for me. But it really has nothing to do with managing your money. As long as you can add and subtract, you're pretty good. And most people that say that they're not good with money are spenders. And this is how I tell them that, yeah, you are good with money, because if you see a sale and you go out of sale and it's 10% off, you know how to do that math. So don't tell me you don't know how to do math, right? So we can figure that out. I can tell you how much I'm going to spend and where I'm going to spend it because I'm a spender, right? So it's more about your relationship and how comfortable you are with how you communicate about money and how you need to be communicated to about money. Once you understand that, everything else is gravy. It's one of those things, how much is coming in, how much is going out. So don't be intimidated by a budget. Now, here's the thing though. Most of us, if you're a spender like me, don't judge me, but if you're a spender like me, we hate to hear the word budget. We hear diet, die, deprivation, I can't, no. And we just don't have time for that negativity in our life, right? We like to spend money. So what caters to us is semantics, but we need a spending plan. Teach me how to spend on savings. Teach me how to spend on investment. Teach me how to save on giving, because we are transactional creatures. That transaction releases that endorphin, that serotonin, whether it's $1 or $1 million. If we do the transaction, we feel good. We feel something. And so we, and we'll talk about this later, but each language should be respected in and of its own. They're not better than the other. But yeah, I just want to say that don't be intimidated by having to do a spending plan or a budget. If you can add and subtract, especially if you know what that percentage of the sale, how much you're going to get off, if you can figure that out without a calculator, you good.
I'm trying to make it past after I get through the sale. She might want to go to a restaurant, do my ends. But my question is, how do we get the next generation involved in? It seems like they are tech savvy and they have the wherewithal of using the concepts digitally, but it does not seem the rubber meets the road with them financially with their money. It just seems like they spend a lot. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's a couple things. One, it's not really taught in the schools, so it's not really a priority thing, right? It's probably not taught at home because parents can't teach what they don't know or what they don't feel like comfortable with. And also, even if the parent knows it, but the parent doesn't want the child to know the financial situation, they're not going to share financial advice. They're not going to teach their children there. So it's something that a child has to be taught. The child is taught how to speak English. The child is taught how to read. The child is taught even how to do electronics. Most of the time nowadays, when the child, we want to shut them up, we put an iPhone or we put a tablet in front of them and they learn how to do that before they can even talk, right? So it's a matter of, it has to be taught. And I deal with several families where it can be fun, where the entire family can learn together, especially if you want to invest. I call it the shopping scavenger hunt or whatever, right? We do a scavenger hunt. My son and I would do a scavenger hunt. And what we bought the most, if it was a name brand, we would find out if it's publicly traded. If it's publicly traded, or the owner's publicly traded, we see what the cost per share is. And if we buy it a lot, say if we bought toilet paper or whatever a lot, and that brand is publicly traded, how much is it per share? Well, let's buy 1 or 2 shares, because now we're going to buy from a store we own. So that teaches us both about investing. That's why he owns several shares in Nikes, because he wanted to buy Nikes all the time. And I said, I'm not going to buy you a pair of Nikes until you can afford to buy the same amount in shares. And at the time, Nike was like $50. And so all he had to do, it was $200 pair of shoes. Are you kidding me? But the point was, if I'm going to buy these shoes, I need to buy it from a store that you own. So we got 4 shares. He saved up money. He could have bought his own shoes, but I wanted him to understand ownership.
How does it feel as a woman of color raising a young man and teaching him financial responsibility to his generation? Does he reflect that? Does he? Well, let me say it this way. When he goes out and he with his partners or with his girlfriend, does it show up?
No. Let me tell you why. The younger they are, the more they'll listen to their parents. The older they get, the more the parents don't know what the hell they're talking about, right? Right. So I could tell my son something, and I do this to this day. He's 26. I will tell my son something in his own best interest. He swears that I don't know what I'm talking about. But if my sister or a stranger tells him something or tells him the same thing, it's gospel, it's law. It must be right. So how I have to go through that is I have to tell my sister, look, I've already said this to him. I need you to repeat it and say it to him. Because if he hears it from someone other than me, he's probably going to execute it. Right. But, you know, at that age in their 20s, they're trying to find themselves. They're trying to learn on their own. They want to be independent. So they may be a little bit rebellious on what you tell them to do because they don't want to be told what to do, but they still want you to pay their bills. Go figure. You know what I mean? So now I have to, you know, if you want to continue to be fiscally irresponsible, you can't come to ATM, you know, automatic teller mommy to get money. Now you're going to have to be hungry because you spent all your money too soon. Right. So the lessons are not just what we say and what we taught and what we do. Sometimes they're going to have to learn their own lessons. They're going to have to feel that the oven is hot, you know, and as parents, that's what we try not to have them do.
Yeah, I caught mines on the back end because I have so many of them that.
You have so many kids?
Well, we raised a total of 11, me and my wife.
Ooh, bless your heart.
My youngest is 20. And so we kind of got off kilter with her with, okay, she's so smart and intelligent, but she's making unwise decisions. And go ahead.
Go ahead and finish.
No, go ahead.
Well, a lot of kids nowadays, and nobody really wants to admit it, but they're very entitled, right? Because we, you know, as parents, we're like, I want our kids to have better. You know, I want them to have what they want, especially if they do good in school, we're going to give them what they want. So by the time they reach the age of accountability, they're used to being catered to as far as that's concerned. They don't know that, you know, they don't know anything else. I did good grades, give me money. That's what they know. I'm a good girl, give me money. That's what they know. As long as they're good, and as long as we do what we tell them to do, we got them. That's what they know. So they grow up with this entitled thing. So when we say, oh no, you got to work for your money, you got to do this, they're kind of in shock. Like, wait, what? You got to go to work? What are you talking about? You know, I'm in college. I'm doing good. I got A's. You know what I mean?
Right.
So at some point, when do we say that? Because with my son, I started doing that. I started feeling bad because I worked so much. So I used to buy him stuff to compensate. Right. And then I had to stop because then he would always expect me to buy him stuff. I'm like, oh, we're not going to play this game. So now he has to work for the money, whether he starts his own business, whether he gets a job, whether he does his chores. He's going to have to put forth an effort to earn the money, not just because he's cute and he's a good boy or he does good grades in school. So I'm not saying this about your daughter, but a lot of kids now, they have this entitlement that you should be doing this. You're my parent. You should be taking care of me. You should do this. You have all this money. Why can't you give me some? Dude, no.
They need to come back to our time.
That's not the game we're playing here.
Well,
so
go ahead, Tobie.
No, go ahead. There was something you wanted to bring up because I wanted to move Miss Tarra now on the relationship level and your relationship when it comes to finances. But I'm a pause. Go ahead, James. I'm gonna wait. I got something for Miss Tarra.
All right. My two of the biggest things I found about my generation and the next generation. One of the biggest lackers is understanding relationships. The next biggest lack that we don't understand very well is about finances. And I find that both of them are a tragedy or a train wreck that was waiting to happen. And it looked like no one in my entire family understood money. And then on the other half, I'm looking at parents, I'm looking at all these mom and dads. They're like gambling at a crapshoot with relationships. This one didn't do good. He don't make enough money. She don't look fine. She spends too much. It was a crapshoot with relationships and a train wreck with money. And I was saying to myself, how do we get out of this situation I was listening to someone, I forgot the lady's name. She's like, I had a PhD in economics, and then I ended up with so much debt. And she was like, how can this be? And I have a PhD and I have these degrees, and I was making six figures, but yet I'm in so much debt. And she had to literally, what she said was really retrain her whole way of thinking, or her mind on thinking of money. What do you think about that, madam?
Well, again, economics is not really personal finance in that respect, right?
Right.
Personal economics, you can call it that, economics, but if you have a degree in it, you're probably book smart in it. But when it comes to tactical, practical, you probably aren't good because you haven't learned how to do it in your language, right? So I got a good grade in Spanish, but I can't speak it anymore. I had to do it in high school. But I can say that I know Spanish and French, but I don't do it every day. It's not tactful and practical, so I don't know how to speak it that well. So, it's the same thing. Yeah, you may have an economics degree, but if you can't translate that into personal finance, and you don't have the discipline, and you're trying to do something that's really off of your language that you're comfortable with, then it is a recipe for failure. It just is. And it's something that has to be taught early on in life, because the older we get, the more we're set in our ways and the harder it is. I equate it to metabolism, right? And losing weight. When I was younger, I can eat whatever I wanted. This metabolism thing was amazing. If I knew how powerful it was, I would have bottled it up so I can save it for my 40s, right? But in my 20s, I could eat whatever I wanted. I'm still slim and fine and whatever, right? Or I'll go exercise for a week and I'm back down to whatever. The older I get, that metabolism thing stopped working. I don't know what happened, but it just stopped working like it used to. So I can't, I can look at a piece of cake and gain 5 pounds, and it'll take me a year to lose it, right?
Right.
So the older we get, the harder things are, the more effort we have to put into what we want to accomplish, right? And if we don't start young and start doing, whether it's a healthy lifestyle younger or a wealthy lifestyle younger, it's going to be harder for us to do. It's going to take more effort and more money to get to where we want to go. And it's not to say that we can't do it. It's just now it's going to require more discipline. And nobody likes that D word.
I do.
And we're all disciplined in doing stuff. Sometimes we're disciplined in doing things that are not healthy. Sometimes we're disciplined in doing things that are not in our best interest. So we all have a discipline, but sometimes we don't want to be disciplined in the things that we know is going to help us because it doesn't feel good initially. Like my butt really needs to be in the gym every single day, right?
Right.
So I can get disciplined and go into the gym. But I know the first week or 2 weeks of going to the gym, I'm going to be in pain. But the first thing we do, we don't run to the pain. We try to run away from the pain. So I want to run someplace where it's going to be pleasurable, which is probably at a bar, don't judge me, and eating something. So I have to change my discipline from that every time I want to go eat something to being disciplined and going to the gym. But we got to get our mind ready for it. And a lot of people say they want something, but they're not mentally ready to do what it takes to get it.
Right. Tobie, go ahead with your question.
Yeah. So, thanks, General. So on a relationship platform, I come from an era where my mom and dad, they never bring anything when it comes to finances. They never bring it together. So everybody is designated who pays this bill, who pays that bill. They negotiate and they figure this thing out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't. How my parents survived that, I don't know. But now, fast forward 2022. Ms. Tarra, what is your perspective from, like, if you're in a relationship with someone, who runs the bills? Who's taking care of what bill, that bill, or whatnot? And how do you prepare yourselves for a prosperous financial future?
Awesome. Before I answer that question, I want to ask you a question, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the doctor and you say, this is what I want. I want to get healthy. I want to do this. And they gave you, well, this is what my other, person did. Now, this other person is completely different, completely opposite of you. Okay. He could be a white dude with lots of hair, really skinny and really short. Right. Mm-hmm. But he wants a different health thing. But what if the doctor gave you the same prescription or the same method as that other guy? Would that serve you?
No, not necessarily.
No, it would not serve you, right?
No.
So when we go to the doctor based on our situation, so we can get a prescription to handle our needs, our health goals, right? And I say that to say is that if you're talking about who should control the money, it depends on the couple, and how they want to communicate about money. There are some couples that do keep it separate, and that helps to keep the peace. That helps keep them married, because one may be a saver, one may be a spender. Because if the spender starts spending the saver's money, the saver's going to hoard and hide the cash. And that's going to cause all kinds of conflict, right? Mm-hmm. But you may have a couple that puts everything together, but then they all have their own little side accounts. I call them side piece accounts, but that's another story. But they all have their own side piece accounts, so they can do whatever they want on the side, whatever, that doesn't affect the household bills. Okay, so a side piece account, so that y'all don't really, most people say they have a checking and a savings account, right? But what they really have is a side piece account. Don't judge me, right? Because every time the main checking account can't give them what they want, they go and tap that asset. I said asset. And the account is always depleted because that side piece account can't give them what they need because it's always depleted. So what most people need to do is have a mama account, a reference account, that savings account that's not tied to the checking account. So it takes more effort to get to it, and you set the money and forget it. So you put a certain amount of money, you set it, automatic deposit, set it and forget it. Because when you need something, mama can always give you what you need, but she may not give you what you want, right? So a lot of people, when they're looking at that savings account that's tied to the checking account for the automatic draft, or, they just need to know, I'm going to get paid, I'm going to put $200 in the savings account, but right before they get paid again, they always have to tap into that $200. It's a psychological thing, right? So you feel like you have enough money, and you really don't. So one of the couples that I dealt with, they put everything together, but they had those side accounts so that they could do whatever they wanted with the money. Then I dealt with a couple that he decided he was going to pay the mortgage, she was going to pay for everything else, and then everything else was separate. And if they had personal debts, they paid their personal debt. I had one guy, he said, my wife is not paying a bill. I wish he was single. God, I wish he was single. But he was not going to let her pay a bill. He paid for everything. And whatever she made, she was able to do whatever she wanted with him. It was important for him to take care of her, and he paid for everything. So I say it depends on the marriage. It depends on the situation. It depends on how comfortable you are with communicating. Because most of the time, if you have a problem communicating about money, it's not just about money. You probably have a communication issue anyway. With my experience, over 10 years experience with working with marriage counselors and pastors, dealing with couples therapy, they called me in to be able to translate or interpret and translate what each other were saying about money. And most of the time, if it was a communication issue about money, they had communication issues, period. Right. And so, I always say maybe it's time to get a third party to come in to have the conversation and help you all to interpret and translate what each other's saying, so you can find the best way to manage your finances together.
Okay.
You got another one, Tobie?
He looks like he don't like my answer.
No, your answer's good. Believe me, I have a fiance who's just like you. Just like you. She's a spender, I'm the saver. So I'm the saver. So I always remind her, and I know she's gonna drop kick me when she catch me when I say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I always say, okay, before you go out there and spend, sometimes she'll ask for my card. You know, before you go out there and spend, let me show you what we got. So you could use your head, because you're a very intelligent woman. So you can use your head and know what to do. Okay. So she's gotten better. She's gotten better. She's gotten way better. And I'm really happy about that. Before, it's like I used to say the Lord's Prayer, but not anymore.
I'm gonna need you to read my book, and I'm gonna need you, one, stop talking down to your fiance.
No, I'm not.
Right?
I'm not.
Because
I'm
your language of saving. See, James, the problem is that savers and investors are very what do you call it?
Don't say cheap, because I'm not.
Judgmental. All right. An investor says if you just invest your money and shut up and just do what I tell you to do, you're gonna be all right. A saver says if you just stop spending and save your money, you're gonna be all right, right? And a spender and a giver, we looking at both of them like all of y'all can kiss, you know what I mean, right?
Right.
Okay. Because y'all don't know how to talk to us. You think you're better than we are. And you'll say, no, we don't. No, we don't. Yes, you do. But we're all the same. We are all the same. Now, how I would communicate is, babe, you know what? We have about $200 to spend. How are you going to spend it?
Right.
And let her determine. But we need boundaries. As spenders, we need boundaries.
Right.
Don't tell us what we can't do, because I promise you, if you tell her that she can't spend money or not to spend money, she's going to spend your money, her money, and everybody else's money. I can attest to that. That would be me. Tell me not to spend money? Bet.
Yep.
Really? But if you say, you know what, babe, I checked our spending account and everything, we have $200, we have $300, we have $500 to spend. She probably already knows as soon as you say the number what she's going to spend. Whether it's using her mind, her heart, her feelings, her emotions, or whatever, she already knows.
Right. That is so true. That is so true.
But if you give us boundaries, because if you say, well, we need to look at the budget, as soon as I promise you, maybe, I know it's me, as soon as I hear budget, I'm cringe. Oh, so you telling me, because when we hear budget, we hear that we can't spend. When a saver hears budget, it is I can control, right? So when a saver hears budget, they need safety, security, and control. A budget allows them to tell the money where it's going to go.
Right.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
A spender.
Hey, this is learning. You know, pay attention. You learn something. I'm learning.
So for a spender, a budget tells us a complete opposite. That's why semantics help, or semantics work, because our pledging principle is spending. So yeah, we need to spend on savings. And also, Tobie, I'm gonna give you this little hint for your girlfriend, right? It's not that she can't save. We save to spend, right? We don't save for a rainy day. And we don't save just for no reason, okay? Because it's raining outside. Can we spend some money? It's just like window shopping. I think that's the most asinine thing ever. It makes no sense to me at all. Window shopping. It's like being hungry, going to a steakhouse, and not buying any steak. We're just gonna look at it. No. But if I'm saving because we're going on a cruise, or I'm saving because we're going to buy a house, or I'm saving because my future self, Juanita, who wants a boyfriend and wants to travel, and it's going to cost a lot of money, Tara's going to have to save now so Juanita can live her best life later. So we save to spend. So when you say, babe, we need to start saving money, we're going to want to know, well, what are we saving for?
So the concept of saving for a rainy day, it's not applicable.
I'm not saying it's not. For you, it is. For us, saving for a rainy day serves no purpose. Now, it may be an emergency. Your rainy day fund may be an emergency. It may be so that we'll have cash in case we need it. We need a little bit more than it's a rainy day, because I promise you we'll take it literally. And if it's raining outside, we got money to spend. Now, that's not everybody. But for the most part, it just doesn't compute to us, because we're going to save the money, but what are we going to spend it on later? Why are we saving this money? Savers just like to save money just to have it. You like to see the money grow. And if your savings account gets below a certain threshold, you'll freak the hell out. You probably will. I'll watch my mouth. I need deliverance, y'all. Forgive me.
Well,
but am I right or am I wrong about that?
No.
Saving?
You're right. I like to save because I want to invest and spread things out.
Okay. So when you say, because most times savers are not investors. Okay. The reason why is because savers, again, need safety, security, and control. Investors understand that the reward is relative to the risk. Savers don't like risk. They don't want to lose their money. So if you are an investor and you understand risk, that is something different, because a lot of my couples, I have a saver and an investor, and the saver is scared because the investor wants to take the money and invest it. And the saver's like, they're going to lose all of my money. I need to hide my money. So every time they ask the saver for money, the saver's always broke. They may have 50 million in the bank somewhere, but if you ask them for money, they're broke. I ain't got no cash on me. I ain't got nothing in that account.
How do you tell your spouse or relationship? How do you tell them no? This is not applicable to me. This is just a general question. How do you tell your spouse no? If he or she wants something from you, wants some money, and she knows you have it, and you tell her no without he or she taking it personal, like, where is he putting the money at? Who's he giving the money to? Or this and that. How do you approach an individual like that? This has got nothing to do with me. So
all right. The same way a person would say no about something else, right? If you just say no without giving an explanation, the person is going to be suspect. You know what I mean? So if you say, no, I don't have it to spend on that, I'm saving it for this or whatever. If you give them reason, they don't have to like the reason. But if you just say no, and they know you got the money, and you just gonna say no, then that leads.
Tell them why you said no. Make sure you tell them why you said no. Okay.
I mean, if you, and for the marriage folks, I'll say for the marriage folks, if your husband or wife wants to have sex and you say no, and you just say no, and you repeatedly say no, the other person's probably going to want to know why. Are you sick? You got a headache? What, you seeing somebody else? What's going on? It's back to the communication issue.
Okay.
And if you say, because I said so, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, you would be really foolish to say something like that. Either man or woman, that would be a very foolish move. Very foolish move. So, okay, James, hand the ball back to you.
Tobie's tapping out. He's tapping out.
I'm not tapping out. No, I'm coming. I'm coming. Keep going. I'm handing the ball back to general.
Since we on relationships, madam, let me ask you this. We're in the 21st century. We are people of color who we know there are a lot of come from broken homes, a lot of poor decision making when it came to relationships. We're talking about leadership, but let's get on to that subject of relationships with blended families when it comes to finances, and when it comes to dealing with money and finances as a whole in that blended family. How do you approach that in its earliest stages? I know about communication, but when it comes to blended families, that takes on a whole different tone and subject with the financial leadership role there, because you might have both of them might be saviors, but both of them ends might not be meeting as well and trying to get to that threshold towards retirement with that blended family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a conversation that needs to happen early in the relationship, because when you're talking about blended family, and depending on how old or young the children are, There could be alimony that's involved. It could be child support that's involved. And those conversations, as far as the expenses and what's going out, needs to be discussed, because someone may be getting alimony, the alimony and child support, but if they get married, the alimony is going away. So that reduces the income that they're receiving. The other person may be paying the alimony or child support. And so that takes away from there. They may be making good money, but because they got to pay that out, it reduces the household income. So you have to come together and just be honest, having those honest conversations. If you're going to be married, honesty up front is very important. It's probably the hardest thing to do. We could probably tell you who we slept with or whatever, but nobody wants to talk about the crappy credit. Nobody wants to talk about, the fact that they're not really saving, that they're not really budgeting and all that stuff. On the financial side, we really want to look like we have it all together, right?
Right.
But if you can be vulnerable with each other enough to be honest, that's something that you could probably build upon, or even help each other, or make a decision like, look, I'm dealing with this financial things. I'm going to let you handle the household finances, and I'm going to give you the money to handle household finances, so my financial situation won't hurt our financial finances, right?
Right.
And so when you understand your situation, you understand the financial, what's coming in and what's coming out, how much income you're getting in, whether it's child support, whether it's alimony or whatever with a blended family, job, business, or whatever. And then what are your expenses that are coming out? Even when you
Right.
come together, is it a mortgage? Is it rent, utilities, and all of that? Now that you have more children, now it's probably more food, more electricity, more entertainment. So understanding that, and I promise you that all a budget or spending plan is how much you're getting in and how much is going out. If there is a positive number, great. If it's a negative number, you're either going to have to make more or you're going to have to spend less. It's really that simple, right? The problem is we don't want to have to get another job to make more, and
Right.
we don't want to have to stop our spending habits. So you're going to have to figure, like, I want to lose like 50 pounds, but that will require me to eat less, drink more water, and exercise more. And I don't think I want to do any of that right now.
There's the other option.
Yeah, I can probably get liposuction, but if I don't do it right, it's going to come back. So I still have to have some form of discipline.
True. We like quick solutions, like the microwave.
Yeah, we like the microwave, and then when we don't like the food, we blame the company, right? Not blame us, because we probably should have cooked it instead of microwaved it.
Yeah, they ain't put enough spice in it.
Right. Right.
So
you should have cooked yourself, but no, we want something at a restaurant, right?
Well, me being who I am, I enjoy cooking. Most people don't these days. I do. But with those relationships and leadership roles and those financial situations, is it okay for the man who heads the household because he makes more, when income tax time comes, does he have the right to make the decision on where that money, when it comes in, to spend?
Damn.
That was such a setup
you took the question.
It's such a setup question.
I was setting it up for it. I was setting it up.
It's such a setup question. So for a man,
I'm sorry.
Look, from a man's perspective, you are the head of the household. You make more money. You handle the finances, and when the income tax time comes, you make the decision. Now, if that's the type, so you're pretty much saying the type of relationship you're in is what I say goes.
Right.
Is that what I'm hearing?
You're right. That's correct.
One, I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with you if that is your position.
I didn't say me. We were talking about the situation, but go ahead.
Okay. I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with that dude if it was me. Because if that's the case, again, it's not just with money. It's probably with everything else. What I say goes, which gives me an indication that there is not a lot of respect for the wife.
Okay. I can see how you got there.
So my whole thing is, it was probably, if you were the head of the household, that means I trust you enough to follow you as the head of the household. What if you're the head of the household, but I make more than you? But I still agree that you're going to take care of the finances. You're good with the money, so you take care of the finances. So when the tax time comes, who's going to make that decision?
Well,
when the female makes more money.
Well, I'm gonna be so gracious as to say, whoever has the most should have the most say so, if that's how that particular household goes. So if that is the case, then she should have more of the right, because she's putting in more of the tax revenue that's going to be coming back.
I'm going to tell you this that I told the other couples when they asked me those phenomenal questions. Right?
Right.
You have to determine who has the biggest fight in them and how much you have to lose.
Right.
In an argument, right? If we're arguing about something or we're dealing with something and I have too much to lose, whether it's my sanity, whether it's my sleep, whether it's hearing someone nag, and my fight ain't that big in it, you're right. You're right. Because it's not worth the trouble. And if you're willing to fight that hard to be right, and I have too much to lose as far as my sanity, as far as peace in my household,
right,
I'll give it to you. But there are times that I have a bigger fight in me, and it just is what it is. And we're going to fight, and the other person has to say, I got too much to lose. You have it. Or we're going to have to come to a compromise. So everyone wants this cookie cutter response. And if I say, yeah, he should have that, if you try that in your marriage and she knocks you the hell out, I'm just saying, it depends on the relationship. It depends on the person that you're with. Right. It depends on the personality that you're with. I would think that if Tobie did that, his wife would knock him out, or his fiance would knock him out, or have really something to say.
Right.
Am I wrong, Tobie? Tell me I'm wrong.
Tell her that she's wrong, Tobie.
Tell me I'm wrong, Tobie.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. My fiance is very volatile and very outspoken. So
she is very vocal and passionate. She's not volatile.
She's can be volatile. No, I know her. She can be volatile. She's the sweetest woman in the world till you cross her.
Hey, that is my sister from another mister. Okay.
So, yeah. Right. So, and we've taught each other a lot.
Right.
She's learned so much off of me. I've learned so much off of her. They've been she's a shoot first, ask questions later. But now that we've been in each other's lives for a while, it's like she processes it before she reacts. So that's who I am. I'm more of a process guy. I'm more in a methodical, do things in such a methodical and processed way, which is what I do for a living. So, but now he's like,
she's not,
and she's like, no, she is not. She's like, okay, let me think first before I slap the hell out of this person. Let me think first. Why did this person do this? Because these are the questions I ask before I react on anything. So, this has been an eye opener. Our producers have already told me the kind of person you were coming in. We read up on you and everything. So kind of sort of was ready today. And believe me, my dad always say, pay attention, son, you learn something. And I really appreciate you coming in today. And General, you want to close us out, because I've been told by my producers now that we're going to have a part 2. Cool. Because this ain't over yet, Miss Tarra. This ain't over.
Look, I told you I'm here for it.
Right.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Tobie wouldn't know that song, Miss Madam. He wouldn't know that song. It's not over.
It's not. I've heard the house music version of the song. It's not over. Yeah. See, I'm telling them my age now. And I'm going to be another year tomorrow. Praise God. So
happy birthday.
Thank you. So yes, he just texted me now and said there's a part 2 coming up. So please, ladies and gentlemen, there'll be a part 2. finances and relationships next week. See, I'm about to close this thing out without the general talking. So
No, you go ahead.
you know, so next week, everyone, if you have questions, please put your questions out there, not just for me, not just for James, the general, but for Miss Tarra, because she will be back next week. Please, everyone, I cannot stress this enough, because I'm getting married next year, and Lord knows I've learned a thing or two already with Miss Tarra today. So, guys, if you're out there, please bring your questions, put it in the box, or send it to our producers, and we will have these questions answered for you next week in one of the segments of the show next week. So, guys, thank you so much, Ms. Tarra. Pay homage to you. Thank you for your words of financial wisdom. Thank you for that. And guys, everyone have a blessed rest of the week. Happy Hump Day Wednesday, and we will be back next week on time next week. So till then, be blessed and hug somebody. Bye, guys.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Clock TV.
Yep.
See you next week, man.